friends, it's Mari. Thank you so much for stopping by my channel. I have a project today for Studio Light and Ecstasy Crafts. I'm going to be creating this beautiful scene card for you today, and I'm going to start out by showing you the stamp I'm going to be using. This is stamp 90 from the Essentials collection from Studio Light. You can just see this beautiful image that is created by this stamp set. I just absolutely love that image so much, and there's actually a series of these in this collection. This is stamp 91, which is also beautiful. This is stamp 89. You can just see the beautiful kind of mountain scene there for that one. This next one here is stamp 93. So you can just see all of these little beautiful frosty trees that you can use to create your scenes, and there's a little mountain range and some snow. So I'm going to start off here with that stamp 90, and I'm going to put that in my repositionable stamping tool here. I'm going to stamp this on some Bristol smooth cardstock, and that cardstock is just nice and thick, and it's actually going to allow me to do a little bit of watercoloring. Now I'm going to stamp out the image with some Distress Oxide ink in Antique Linen. This is perfect for no line coloring. If you want to do some no line watercoloring, this ink is just perfect for that. It is water reactive, so that it is just going to kind of disappear as I create the color on my image here, and that is just perfect for what I wanted to do. So I just want to be able to see the image so that I can paint it, and I'm going to be using some water-based markers here. This is a Karen Brush Marker Pro marker that I used for the green, and I'm also going to be using some Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers as well. You can just see that I put the color down and then I go in with my watercolor brush. That's a wet watercolor brush, and it just allows me to pull the color out from the line where I colored in with that marker, and it just allows me to move that pigment across my paper as I want. Super, super easy process, so relaxing, and just really love using this technique for a stamp like this because it allows you to color in the image with so much ease, and it is super, super relaxing. I am using a number 2 and a number 6 round brush. These are silver brushes, but you could use any type of brush that you have in your stash. You could use a water brush or just whatever. You don't need any really special brushes for this other than something with a little bit of a finer point. And here you can just see I'm going to start coloring in some of the trees here. I'm just going to go in and tap in a little bit of that green color and then pull that out to create the pine trees. And I am going to, as I'm working through this process here, I'm going to put on a little bit of music for you so that you can watch me color these images. It's just really the same process over and over again. The technique is just to put the color down and then pull that color out. And you can use any water-based marker that you have in your stash for this process. You could, of course, also use your watercolor paints if you have a watercolor paint set as well. Also would work for this technique with the no line watercoloring. So I am going to go ahead and put some music on for you, and you can just continue to watch as I complete this process with this beautiful scene. So here you can just see that I added in a little bit of a sunrise or sunset in behind my little cottage here. And I'm also going to add in some blue for the sky. And what I was really going for here with this scene is just the idea of, you know, it's late fall, the leaves have all fallen off the trees, but the grass is still green, and there's going to be a first snowfall. And so I am going to add some snow to this scene at the very end in the last step. Now what I'm doing here is I'm actually going direct to the stamp with my markers, and this is just going to apply all of the details of the stamp back onto the image. I love this part of the process. It's a lot of fun, and it's really where your stamped image really starts to come alive. I'm going to spritz that a little bit with some water just to kind of maintain a little bit of that watercolor look on the trees, but I am going to continue to stamp over top of those trees and the grassy area and the cottage with different colors just to create more detail with this piece. So you're just going to see me going through that process of adding the marker, the pigment direct to the stamp. And I'm going to use a bunch of colors for that. You'll see me doing that here. And this is just so much fun. It's super easy to do. You just take that marker and color right over the images directly on the stamp and stamp it. And a repositionable stamping tool really is a must for this process. It does make it a lot easier. And I did not move that stamp off of my repositionable stamping tool from the time that I first stamped the image to the very end of when I finish my card. So don't move that stamp. That's key. Once you get it into your stamping tool, it's really important to just leave it there. Okay, I'm going to let you go ahead and watch this last bit of this stamping of the project, and it'll be almost finished. So you can just see how all of these details are being added back onto the image, and how it's just, you know, really making it look really nice and detailed. Now, what I wanted to do to finish the card off as far as the stamping goes is I wanted to stamp over top of it now with some clear embossing ink. And this is just going to now allow me to add a little bit of clear embossing powder over top of the image. And that embossing powder is going to stick to a lot of areas on this card, even where there isn't embossing ink, because it's still a little bit wet, but I didn't care because it's going to dry clear and it's just going to add just this really pretty, you know, shine and reflection on your project. It just kind of makes it come alive. And I really love how that looks. Now here you can see I've die cut out with a decal edge die the whole card panel. And I'm going to go back to my antique linen and I'm going to add a little bit of edging with that antique linen to the card. It just kind of makes it look a little bit aged and kind of antique-y looking, as the name antique linen suggests. And I just love how that finishes off the edges of the card. So I'm just taking a sponge applicator here and just going lightly over those edges with that antique linen ink here. And that's just going to finish that off beautifully. So now that's all done. I'm going to use this stamp set here. I will make sure that I link up to all of these stamps, but this is a sentiment stamp from that Essentials collection. It's just amazing. It's got so many different sentiments in it. And I really love this warm wishes sentiment for this card. It's pretty generic and it would allow me to use this card for a lot of different types of occasions. So I'm going to stamp that out with some VersaFine Clair ink. This is just a really nice crisp pigment ink that's slow drying. I'm going to go ahead with my clear embossing powder again and emboss that sentiment so that it is just nice and raised and shiny as well. It just gives it a bit of dimension, just like the clear embossing on the parts of the card where the scene is as well. Now I have added a little bit of foam adhesive to the back of that card panel, and I'm going to add that to an A2 size card base. That's just going to add a little bit of dimension to my card front in that way. I just really like how that finishes the card off and just really makes it look kind of more 3D, I guess. Really loving that so much. You can just see all of the sparkle and shine and detail on that card. Now I'm going to put that into my splat box and I'm going to take a fan brush and some watered down white paint. This is just a really nice bright white, and what I'm going to do is splatter that all across the front of my card here, and that's going to add the impression of the snowfall. I'm also just going to take the edges of my fan brush and I'm going to tap in some of the areas where I want sort of like a little bit of an accumulation of snow. So I'm just going to take it here. You'll just see me like on the edges of the grass. I'll just tap in a little bit of extra snow there. I'm actually going to do that on the roof line and any of the other little areas where I want the accumulation of snow, the branches of the trees and that sort of thing, to make it look like it's just kind of starting to snow and the snow is starting to build up. I love how this turned out so much, and I will make sure to link up to all of the products in the description box below. If you have not used my coupon code for Ecstasy Crafts, you will find that linked in the description box below as well. Have an amazing day, friends. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you were inspired to try a card like this. It is so much fun, so relaxing, and I know that you will love it. Have an amazing day, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.